All right, good morning and welcome to our first podcast of 2020-21 school year. I'm Terry Flowers, TV film teacher here at Page High. I'm excited and humbled to be your host here today. I know many of us teachers have just been trying to get our heads around ending the year. In fact, it was just a couple weeks ago that we actually had graduation, and now we're a week away from starting school. So it's been a crazy time for everybody. However, the people that are here today are ones that have been meeting and planning and doing everything they could through the summer just to get us kicked off in a good way here. In studio today, we have all of our principals that at some point in time will come into play. 3 of them up right now. Plus our school nurse, our head counseling department, athletic director, and a couple of teachers to boot just to make things interesting. I also want to thank some of our parents who, through our PTO, got out the word to everybody, and we have some emails that come in, so we're going to try to answer some of those questions, specifically if they aren't just covered by just some of our conversations here today. So with that said, let me introduce first a round of participants here around the table. Welcome Dr. Katie Hill, moving into our head principal leadership position this year. Welcome. Miss Kelly Sailors, assistant principal. What groups this year, Kelly?
10th and 11th.
10th and 11th, mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Hatley will join us here after a bit with some sports and that kind of thing. And then Dr. Hill, will you introduce our new guest?
It'd be my honor. We're so excited to welcome Mr. Ken Reed to Page High School. He's going to be one of our assistant principals this year, and some of his specific responsibilities will be working with the 9th graders. So, Mr. Reed, if you want to tell everybody just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name's Ken Reed. I'm super excited about being here at Page High School and working in particular with our incoming freshmen. I've been in education quite a while. I think this is my start of my 23rd year. For 15 years, I was in the classroom as a CTE teacher. I taught accounting and banking and finance, investments, things like that. And then the last 7 as an assistant principal. But I'm super excited about being here at Page and get to know our students and the teachers and working with our community here.
That's great. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's good to have you. Let's just kind of start by some general information here coming out to our parents and our students. Just a week ago, or just shy of, we heard from our lovely superintendent that we are going to start school remotely. And so, Dr. Hill, if you'll kind of start us off, just give us a little bit of idea of what that's going to look like.
So the first thing I think that parents need to wrap their minds around, because it took me a bit to do this, is that remote learning is different than online learning in our vocabulary in Williamson County. So we have had a group of students who've opted to go completely online this first semester. So those students are being assigned right now as we speak to their online learning classes, and those teachers are being assigned. And those teachers may be some Page High School teachers. They may be teachers from any other school in the county, and that they are still our Page High students, but they are not coming to campus to meet for classes at all this year. And this semester, and they're going to be assigned to courses with students from other schools as well. So those are the students who have opted for online learning. We traditionally come to school on campus at Page, but because of that decision that we learned last week, are going to start remotely. So the students who had opted to come to school traditionally will start the school year in a remote environment, which is going to be handled virtually through Zoom sessions with teachers. And so for at least 2 weeks, starting August the 7th, students who had opted for traditional education will be in that situation and in that environment. Those teachers will all be Page High teachers, and when and if we're able to come back to school, they'll stay on their same schedule, transition right back into our classrooms with those exact same teachers that they have been working with virtually through Zoom for the first 2 weeks of school or month or however long that remote status is in place. And so those schedules have been already established. They're visible on Skyward. We're still tweaking things just like we always are for those folks, and we'll continue to do that for the next, week and a half until kids are ready to log on to their Zoom sessions on the 7th with their teachers. Some things to just kind of that I know are on everybody's minds are attendance. How does that work? What does that look like? And so, it's very similar to if you were in school, from what I understand. And I'm going to let Ms. Sailors, because she's always worked with attendance, and explain a little bit about that. But we've gotten lots of emails about how attendance works when we're remote.
So in a remote setting, you're going to be logging into your Zoom classroom every period as if you were in person here at Page. So first period, when first period starts at 7:50, you will have gotten a Zoom appointment from your first period teacher. You log into Zoom. He or she will take attendance as they always would in first period. We understand there may be technical difficulties that you may be 5 or 10 minutes late or whatever. And of course, we're going to be flexible, especially in the beginning. But the expectation is that you log in to first period, take attendance, log into second period, take attendance, log into third period. At the same times, we would be going to those classes if we were in person. So every period will be taking attendance. The teacher will be taking attendance for every class period, even remote learning.
Good. Now, how does that work with like prime time and study hall, that kind of thing? Do we know that information yet?
Study hall, definitely. That's a regular class.
Okay.
And teachers will be monitoring the students who are in their study halls, just, in case they need help. That's what study hall is to get some additional assistance if you need it from your teacher. So you do log in for study hall. We talked about prime time.
For the first 2 weeks, we're going to log into prime time and just make sure we have everybody in place and accountable. But then I think we'll be transitioning some of those groups and those students to teachers who need them for extra help or remediation or enrichment or whatever those student-specific offerings are. But for this first initial 2 weeks, we're going to just keep our schedule as planned.
Logging into prime time, and then students can go can have lunch, for that period of time once they've logged in.
Sure. Now, you guys have talked about logging in. That's on their Chromebooks, right?
They're
not something else.
New Chromebooks, that's
yes.
right.
Even students who are online, who've opted to go online this year, need the Chromebooks. Number one, they're the class link is on there, the updates, the software, all the things that you need are on the Chromebooks. And also, if there are any technical difficulties, we are able to provide that assistance if something goes wrong with the Chromebook. Whereas if you were on your personal laptop or whatever and something happens, there's nothing that we can do. So all students will need to come to school if they haven't already to pick up a Chromebook and get that checked out. There are forms on Skyward that need to be filled out by parents. Again, if you haven't done that already, I think there are 4 of them. This is in addition to the registration forms that you did in the spring. So please, if you haven't done that, please go on Skyward, and they're listed right there, right when you log on. It shows you, it has the 4 right there that you need to fill out to be able to be issued a Chromebook.
Good.
The makeup date to pick up those for anybody who may have missed our original pickup times is August the 5th. That's a Wednesday from 8:30 to 10:30. So assuming that all the forms have been completed, you can just pop by the front office anytime in that window and pick up Chromebook and then any textbooks that they might need this year.
Okay. So I know we talked about prime time. One of the questions that came in from one of the parents was, I'm sure just a new parent to the school, is what is prime time? It's on my kid's schedule. What is this?
A lot of us may remember prime time sort of like a homeroom period. We use it for all kinds of different things. We use it for distribution. We use it for intervention for students who are struggling a little bit, need some extra help or some reteaching. We use it for enrichment for those folks that have just already mastered skills and need to be pushed to the next level. We use it for a deep breath time where kids can just kind of, take a deep breath and feel like they're, able to almost have a high school age-appropriate recess from the busyness of the day, and it's right in the middle of the day around lunchtime. So it's very multi-purpose, and it allows us to have sort of a homeroom aspect in our schedule.
And prime time is also the time that we do our restorative practice circles, which is teachers checking in with students every day. It's important for us, especially in today's environment and with lots of students who are struggling with some mental health challenges, just especially right now, to have a face-to-face and to know that a teacher has looked in their face every day and checked in with them to make sure everything was okay. And if it wasn't, then that teacher has made the appropriate referral to a counselor or administrator or whatever needs to happen. So that's when our restorative circles occur with every teacher in every prime time, and really surface level circle content, but it's just that face to face. We want every student to feel like they have connected with an adult that day and that they've been noticed.
Great. One of the other questions that came from a parent, actually several parents, was how do we deal with social distancing? What happens if a student refuses to wear a mask? All those kind of things. And I'll let whoever wants to take some of these questions jump into it. And I know there's probably no exact answer to this because everything's still in flux, but...
Well, we have worked on our plan for when kids come back to school pretty extensively, so we feel very prepared for that. And honestly, after going through our 2 days of pickups with our 9th graders yesterday and our 10th through 12th graders the day before, we're really encouraged about students participating in the mask requirement and all of the COVID-19 safety protocols. We had very few, count on one hand, instances where we had to remind someone to pull their mask up. We had one, I think, maybe 2 kids show up without one, and immediately both of those kids said, "Hey, do you have a mask I can borrow or I can have?" And so we feel like that our students here are going to handle that requirement exceedingly well, especially based off that first initial interaction with them being in the building for a few moments this week. If we have an instance where a kid refuses, we'll handle that the way we do any non-compliance issue at Page High School. And honestly, in the past 5 years, we've had very few of those. We have great relationships with our students. We're going to continue to work diligently at fostering those relationships. And our assistant principals have always done a nice job of talking through those things. And Ken, just seeing him interact with students yesterday, I have no concerns that he will fall right in with Kelly and Randy and I and just working with students to overcome whatever barrier there is to wearing a mask. And so we're going to handle those situations individually just like we do any non-compliance issue and talk through the problem and come to a solution. As far as social distancing goes, with the mask requirement and the 3-foot recommendation, it does provide some challenges in the hallway sizes and the large space venues in our building. But specifically for lunch, our plan is to open up more large venue areas for students to eat. Mr. Hatley's already come up with a plan of marking seats within the lunchroom so that students know immediately that this is an appropriate place for me to be. We're also going to open up the wellness gym, and we've added staffing for lunchtime to monitor that venue, mark those seats so that students can sit in there if they want. Also allows them to, when they're finished eating, because, it doesn't take a high school student 30 minutes to eat, but when they're finished eating, they can jump up and walk around and stretch and space out in that environment, of course, with their mask back on when they're finished eating. And then we're going to open up the football field, too. I've always kind of wanted to do that and to give kids the opportunity to have more space outside. And I think this, new restricted environment kind of gives us some opportunity to do some other things. So we've added staffing for lunch to be on the football field. We're going to open up the visitor side bleachers that are next to the building so that students can sit there if they want to enjoy lunch outside in a distanced situation, and then when they're finished again, they can walk the track or throw a football if they want to bring one, or do those things that sometimes we're not able to do in a regular situation. So we've tried to look at this restrictive environment as an opportunity in some ways too, and to add some things where in other situations so many opportunities have been taken away. So that's going to be our lunch approach. Hallways are going to be a challenge. We've always had teachers in the hallways and class change, so that will remain in place. But we're going to really try and ask kids to go one direction or the other. Masks are going to be an absolute must and a really crucial piece. in terms of transitions. But the key here is that in between classes, we transition in 5 minutes. And so the close contact guidelines are 10 minutes or longer. So even though we are going to have trouble with our distancing, it is for a very brief time period that we are. And so we're going to try to work on our directions. We're going to absolutely maintain our mask and make that happen as quickly as we can. At the end of the day, we've got a slightly staggered dismissal plan in place. So we're going to dismiss in buses and then car riders and then drivers to just allow some fewer numbers in the hallways when kids are exiting the building, because in that case they will all be headed the same way. And, we love our kids staying at school and being around at the end of the day. But that's one of the things that will have to be tweaked just a bit this year. We are going to encourage them to get out of the building or to get to their practices or their tutoring sessions so that we can immediately start that more thorough cleaning process, and so that they're just not exposed to one another anymore or any longer than necessary. So,
great. We're going to get to a lot of the health side of things and that kind of stuff. Nurse Tomlin's going to be joining us here in a little bit. And but is there any specifics before we get into that side of the fence that any of you guys just wanted to say to our parents, our students, before they're headed back this direction?
Just that, the masks are really, really important. Teachers will be wearing masks, and I know it's difficult to hear. I have a hard time when kids were picking up schedules the other day. I had to ask last names, more than once, just because it's hard for me to hear through the mask. But teachers are going to do their best to project. They're going to be wearing the mask all the time. Students are going to be corrected if they don't have them on in the hallway. We're going to address those situations and take it very seriously. We have to. There's no kind of in between. Let's halfway do this. We've got to make sure that we're keeping our students and our teachers safe and healthy. And in the lunch situations, when the masks are not on, then we will have staff walking around reminding them to social distance. And then as soon as they finish eating, their masks go back on. So it's just a habit that we need to start forming. And I've had trouble forming that habit, but it's just something that's necessary that we have to do. So I want to ensure parents and students that we're going to do everything we possibly can to keep the students safe and healthy here.
That's great. Anybody else?
We're just glad to have the kids back in the building starting next week, and we have these precautions set in place, and looking forward to a great year.
Great, thank you.
I just want to echo that. I know there's a lot of changes. I know that comes with some disappointment because we all love what we know and what's comfortable, and I think for the most part, we really enjoy Page High School, and we enjoy our normal environment of having students in the building. But with all of the changes and adjustments that are going on, I'm still very excited for this school year. I'm so excited for the senior class to enjoy all the special things that they have coming their way, and want to reassure them that we'll do everything we can to give them the senior year they've been excited for. And for all the students to just have those opportunities. We're gonna work with them. Their parents are awesome PTO. I want to put a plug in for them. If your family hasn't joined yet, so please do that and reach out if you need the information on how. They've been amazing all summer to work with and have already provided us with so many extra things. And we're just grateful to be able to partner with them and offer some resources through the PTO that we couldn't without their support. So please join the PTO and just know that our feelings are similar to yours. We're not dismissing anybody's disappointment with the changes, and we're certainly excited, and we're going to work hard to make this school year meaningful and effective and fun, just as it would have been otherwise. So thank you for giving us this platform to tell a little bit more about school next year, or this coming year, next week.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention was the entering the building, and I know Nurse Tomlin will talk a little bit about that, but the front entrance, because of construction, and y'all will, if you haven't been by the school, y'all will be really surprised at how quickly that's gone in the front. But the front entrance will be closed to anyone, and then so we'll have those side entrances close to the tennis courts, at least a couple of entrances open, and we'll be taking temperatures there and holding students if they have a temperature and those kinds of things. So that's another kind of reassurance for parents. I forgot to talk about that before, and Nurse Tomlin can talk a little bit more about what that looks like.
That's great. Well, thank you all for being here. We're going to take a quick break and kind of switch out seats here, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back. We have changed our seats out in around our podcasting table right now. We have several new faces, not new to Page High School, but to answer some different questions for our parents and students out there. So let's just go around the horn. If you'll introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what your role is here at Page High.
Hi, good morning. I'm Rebecca Wilson, and I have the pleasure of being the department chair of the counseling department. And, one of the counselors here at Page.
There you go.
All right, I'm Josh Hollandsworth. I am part of the English department, but I'm here today representing the senior project board as their chairperson.
Great.
I'm Karri Tomlin, and I'm the school nurse.
All right. So let's do this. Let's start, Karri, with you. Because we've already left off from some of the health side of things of wearing masks and distancing and that kind of stuff. Just give us kind of an overview from the health side of things of why we're doing all this and maybe what parents and students can both do to help everybody.
All right, so basically we're doing all this so that we can stop the spread of this virus. So it's really helpful if the students wear a mask and staff's going to wear a mask, and they need to be cotton mask, not open see-through mask, but cotton mask. Disposable is fine, washable is fine, but they'll be screened when they come into school, taking temperatures. If they have a fever of 100 or if there are any other symptoms of COVID-19, they'll be put into the isolation room and they'll wait for their parents to pick them up. Or if they're able to drive, we'll just call the parents and make sure before we let them go home. But they'll drive back home. And during the day, if they were to come down with COVID, they'll come to the clinic, and I'll assess them outside the clinic door so that we don't cross-contaminate the healthy kids that maybe need to be in there for other reasons with possibly COVID infections. So I'll assess them, and if they have symptoms, then they will go to the isolation room. Same process. They will wait. And the isolation room, I think, will be across from the new office. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, let's say I think one of the questions from one of our parents was, if my kid comes with a cold, is he going to be treated in classroom from other students as well as healthcare as if he could possibly have COVID, if he's sneezing or coughing or, runny nose, whatever?
Yes, it is the allergy season, right?
It is, yes.
All right, so basically what we're going to do is we have a list of COVID-related, cough, the fever, the loss of smell, loss of taste, upset stomachs, nausea. So we have a list of symptoms. And so we're going to look at those lists, and we're going to take temperatures. And if they're just having allergy symptoms, we're not going to send them. They're not going to go to the isolation room. We're going to treat the symptoms. If they're running a fever, 100, then yes, they'll be following the same policy we've always followed. They'll have to go home.
Okay. And that's probably a good thing, too, just to make sure that parents, before kids are coming in, and obviously these are high school students, so hopefully they're doing it themselves, too.
Right.
But check their temperatures if you think there's a possibility before they ever get here.
Right. So we're all supposed to be doing that, even even adults. So if you're like me, you probably need to look at your thermometers at home, and maybe you need to get a new thermometer or update your thermometers. But definitely take your temperature. And if you're 99.6, then I say come on to school, because sometimes when you first get up in the morning, allergies can sometimes do that. And we'll assess you when you come in the building. And if it's still high, then we'll call. Chances are it might be lower by then. But it has to be within if you're 100, you're going home no matter what, and we're all going to be wearing masks. So that helps a lot.
Now, I know we're going to talk with Mr. Hatley and some of the others about entering the building and all that kind of stuff. But I know the questions have come up. How are you going to screen every single student that comes through the door with the thermometer, and how does that work?
Well, I've asked that same question because it's going to be a learning process for all of us in the beginning. But we have several thermometers, some infrared that we're going to, do the forehead. Well, if that's a questionable reading on that, I'm going to be stationed up front at the office every morning with my portable cart, with my other thermometers that are a little bit maybe more accurate than them. And so if the student's kind of questionable on the line and they're not sure, they're going to let me assess them before they go to class or before we decide the isolation room. They'll get another temperature check orally or temporal or in ear. So then we'll have a little bit better reading if there's a fine line. But the staff's going to help. They're going to be trained. Teachers are going to be stationed at doors, and we're going to I think 2 or 3 maybe entrances, and they're just going to have to, everybody be wearing masks, and we'll be less than 10 minutes in distance. So we're just going to have to learn as we go, but that's the plan.
Sure. So I know you touched on this, but I just want to make sure because we had one of the questions that came in from one of the parents was if my child goes to get medications, are they going to be in the same area as the kids that are waiting for COVID? And you said no.
No, the clinic is still going to be in the same room. As of right now, my understanding, I'm staying in the same place I've always been, room 501. So all of my kids who need to come see me for their normal medications daily, their any diabetics, seizures, all that medication, all the supplies, procedures will all be right there. And they will be able to access the bathroom and able to access the clinic and their supplies as they need to, just like they always would.
Great. Anything else that you want to just...
I think we're just all on the learning curve.
Sure.
I've learned there's no dumb question. I may not have the answer, but I encourage parents to either email me if they're concerned or worried, or they can call me, leave a message. It's probably better to email just because I see that quicker.
And what's your email address?
It's karri.tomlin@wcs.edu.
Great.
So, but they can email me, and we're all learning to get it. I have learned it changes, and I guess I need to talk a little bit about if your child does come in contact with if we have a student that tests positive, and your student was in close contact is considered. Anyone you're within 6 feet of for longer than 10 minutes at a time, that's considered a close contact. So that's where the changing in the hall, because we do it in less than 5 minutes.
Sure. Does that include wearing the mask?
I think if you're wearing the mask, that's not. So if you're outside playing and you take the mask off, but if you're within close contact, somebody without your mask,
okay.
Then I think it depends on how you read the protocol, but that's what they consider contact tracing is they're going to look at those people, and if you have come in contact, it's a 14-day immediate quarantine. No questions asked. You go on quarantine for 14 days. If your family member comes down with it, and your mom or dad gets it, or brother or sister, they get it, you're on quarantine for 14 days, and until their quarantine's done. When they're done with theirs for 10 days, then you go on for 14 days if you're still in contact with that student. So it could be for a long time, and you may never.
So we could have a popcorn of students in and out.
Yes, so we're all learning.
Yeah.
It's all subject to change with the CDC. We follow those guidelines. We're working with the health department, and the health department we'll help them with contact tracing, but we'll let the parents know. They let parents know. We kind of work together with them. So
sure.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I'm appreciative of those students who are wearing the mask and doing what they need to do because I have health issues.
Right.
As a teacher, some breathing things, and if it gets bad enough, I'm in the hospital getting breathing treatments and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
it's serious.
So I'm at that point of going, you guys stay masked, be careful, do whatever you need to do to help me. So.
Right. And I would also say, wash your hands. The kids hear me say this all the time. Soap and water. Wash your hands. If you can't get to soap and water, hand sanitize. And every room will have it. Yep. It'll be around this, and there'll be stations around the school with hand sanitizer. So But the big thing is wash your hands with soap and water every chance you get.
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. I actually have a sink here in the studio. So
Yes, very good.
that may help. We'll see. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Welcome.
I think we're good. If you want to head out, and
Okay.
we'll go to our next victim here. Let's go to counseling.
All right, sounds good.
All right. So, anything that you want to just give us kind of a brief overview of schedules and when things are actually going to be finalized, which I know is going to be a really tricky part at this point, especially since we have several that have chosen for the online and things are shifting.
Yeah, it's some of the same and some a little different, depending on, obviously this time of year is kind of chaotic anyway, even before COVID and pandemic and all that things. So counselors are extremely busy right now, correcting errors in schedules. We'll be doing that, honestly, maybe even past school a little bit once school starts, but we are definitely working on it. We've got to first work on making sure all the students that have requested to be online, that's all set, and then we'll start going through and making the corrections for things like that. But it'll take some time.
Sure. So we're talking like probably just right before school starts.
Absolutely.
Is when everything's going to kind of be finalized.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
the parents that are going, well, when are we going to know? You'll know when everybody else knows, and that's going to be right before school starts, right?
It will be, and that's not unusual. That's very typical for a regular school year anyway. I mean, even usually, like I said, in the regular school year, we'll have students coming in that whole first week of school and making some changes, tweaking changes and things like that.
Yeah, I know as a teacher, I'm always wanting to know as early as I can what students do I have.
Right.
It takes me a long time to learn names and that kind of stuff, so the more I can get into that, the better. But it's this way. I mean, this is my 21st year here at Page High School. Mm-hmm. And it's every year it's like, well, here's who we know we think is going to be in your classroom, but obviously that's totally subject to change.
Yes, and at this point, I guess so. There's two main things for students that are staying in the building. We're only making changes if there's an error on their schedule. If students are requesting, like, now I've changed my mind, those things we're not honoring. That deadline to make those type of changes was back in May. So we will not make changes just for, hey, I changed my mind, I'd like to switch to this. That's a no-go right now. It's simply things like I actually requested to be in honors and now I'm in standard, or vice versa. So I hope students and parents will just kind of remember that students were the ones that input this information. So there's going to be errors in there, understandably so, and we'll work on getting them corrected. And
Good. So I know this may seem as a weird question, but we've had a couple questions come in from some parents. Mm-hmm. And the first question was, what is a counselor? What's their job? Are they supposed to be meeting with my kid? How do we, college prep, anything like that? What actually goes on between them?
No, not a weird question. I think it's a great question, and especially for new students and freshmen, It's hard to pinpoint really just specific things. I would say we will do just about anything that, theoretically walks in the door, since kids are remote right now. But, it just runs the gamut of things. Yes, of schedule changes, academic things, of course, any kind of college prep things. But we're also counselors, and I think that's a lot of things that people don't always realize. That's the basis of our education is mental health counseling. So we are fully capable and prepared to do that, want to do that, enjoy, that kind of time. Now, the platform to do that will be different this year.
Sure.
We may not be able to sit with kids face-to-face in our office, but we have the capabilities to, schedule a Zoom appointment with students for counseling purposes, which we would love to be able to do. And not a lot of people have taken us up on that offer yet, but we absolutely. I think the bigger change this year will be students just understanding that we'll have to do a lot of things remotely or online.
Sure.
As far as making appointments. So in the past, we've had the flexibility to just come on in. And just for safety purposes, I mean, I think it's great that I'm glad Nurse Karri was able to talk about that first. So just for the safety purposes for our staff, for our students, we will have to, definitely limit that. And so we're going to ask students, and we're working on making it easier for students to do that. But we will definitely ask them to make an appointment just for now, email. But we're, like I said, we're working on trying to put something in Class Link so that it's all digital and they can just hit a button and fill out a form to say, yes, I want to make an appointment. I would like to do that on the phone. I would like to do that via Zoom, or just, options like that to make it a lot simpler for kids to contact us.
Sure. Now, I know, especially in years past, and I'm assuming this year, that counselors are broken up by letters of the alphabet.
Yes, thank you.
Tell us a little bit
yes,
about
absolutely.
who's who.
We've actually got 4 counselors in our department. So, and yes, students are assigned to us based on their last name by alphabet. So we don't change students, which is lovely. So we get to keep the same students all 4 years for the most part, which is awesome. Sometimes we have to tweak alphabets just a tad, so that one counselor is not overrun with a massive amount of students and one less. And so here's how the breakdown's working out this year. I have the beginning of the alphabet, which is A through F. We have Hillary Walter, so back from last year. She is alphabet G through M. Mr. Jim Mahan will be the last part of the alphabet, N through Z. And Allison Varallo is our part-time counselor, and she's coming back again. I'm so thrilled to have her. She will focus on any student that has dual enrollment. That's her niche, and just other extra things. But that's her main role for that.
So speaking of dual enrollment,
yes,
is that still on with the colleges? And
yes.
Okay.
So, and I'm so glad you asked that question. A lot of questions about that. So, for kids that have chosen to stay in our building, which obviously we're remote right now, if they've signed up to take dual enrollment courses through MTSU with us in our building, MTSU is going to follow whatever protocol we are using. So if we are working remotely, then those dual enrollment courses will be remote also. If and when we come back to the building, then those professors will be back in the building. So they will literally just follow what we're doing. Now, students that have asked to go online full-time, for the semester, we've asked them to make a change because they can't be in the building if they're an online student. I hope that makes sense. So, but they have options. They could still contact MTSU independently and ask if there's some online courses for them, but that will be more, they've got to kind of work on that with them, MTSU.
Right, up to the college itself.
Yes, exactly.
Good. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else that you just want to let parents, students know?
Just y'all hang in there. We're we're all in this together. We miss you guys, and we all hate the way things are going right now. But we're going to get through it. We really are. I just ask for a lot of patience as we work through this. Just know we're working really hard for our students, and we will do whatever we can do to help and ease this process. Just, it may look a little different this year, but we're still here. We're still available. And again, just going to reiterate, y'all ask for appointments, and we'll work it out, whatever y'all need.
So patience will
be lovely.
Yes. I think one of the parents, I think one of the best questions I saw coming in, obviously there's a lot of questions that we had, but one that kind of hits every department, every facet of Page High School is, how can we help as parents?
Oh,
what can we do to help? So the
great.
Patience on scheduling and all that kind of stuff is definitely
yes, and just continue to support your children like you guys always do. Help provide some calm in their life, and because these kids are looking to us as adults to help guide them and to be good examples for them, and they're going to follow what we're doing. So if we are able to approach this whole thing with calm and we've got this, and we don't know the answers to everything right now, but we'll figure it out, then they're going to follow suit. So that's what I can say.
Great.
Yeah. And we're here for the parents too.
Sure.
We'll call whatever the parents need. We're here to support them as well. So,
well, thank you for coming
pleasure.
and
my
taking your
pleasure.
time and filling us in from the counseling department. And
My pleasure.
We'll be thinking about you guys
Thank
and
you.
all the craziness and scheduling and everything else you guys have to do for the next few days. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Hollandsworth, you're up.
Okie dokie.
Welcome to the show. We're going to get into kind of specifically for our seniors right now and senior parents of some of the things that came in and things we wanted to talk about senior project, because obviously things are totally different. And so, Mr. Hollandsworth, I'll let you just kind of jump in and we'll have a little dialogue here. So,
All right. Well, to start with, just because go back to about April. So we made changes back at the end of April, officially to the senior project. A lot of the documentation stayed the same. So things like the essay, the resume, anything that really, they can do online, and they do online. They submit online, so that can stay the same. Because of a lot of the issues at that time, we did shorten the volunteer hours there from 40 to 25. So now they only have to do 25 hours. There's no restriction of the number they can do at Page High. They can get them all done here. The internship is still a viable option through that. We added a questionnaire through a program called U-Science that is introduced actually through the counseling center. It's Ms. Valero is the one that got that to me. And it's one that the students were introduced to already. So they're completing that assignment and then doing a questionnaire, again, online. So really the main thing was restricting those hours, because we still want to try to be done by Thanksgiving if at all possible. Like, that's our goal, get that off of everybody's plate instead of delaying it. That being said, if any parents or students have not read through that updated version of the guidelines, they need to.
And where's that located?
So that's on the Williams County website. I've already double checked on the new website, and they are up. Both documents are up and running on there.
This is also our new webmaster here at school too. So he's definitely playing both ends of the spectrum. So
not everything is working on there yet, since it just repopulated yesterday. But I got those done, so you can find those on the Williams County website. For students, they are also on the Senior Project Google Classroom. While I'm on that, just because I know we have a number of people, if a student has not joined the Google Classroom, they need to contact me to get the code for it, because we're still, even though we've been putting the code out since March, we still have about 90 students who have not signed up. So they need to do that so they have access to everything.
Okay, so they contact you. What's your email?
It's Joshua, JOSHUA HOLLANDSWORTH @WCS.edu.
Wow. Okay, good. Good.
I missed my old email. It was my first name and last initial.
Yeah.
But so we chose not to change anything since the changes we made in April. However, that being said, we do want to say that if your student, either your student has health concerns or the family members do, and getting out to volunteer is difficult because of that, please email me as soon as possible. I actually put that message out yesterday. Mr. Hatley's going to be emailing that out to all the parents, because I'll set you up with a senior project board member as your advisor, and they will work with you on a case-by-case basis, because there's still options. There's still virtual volunteering, plenty of organizations that need help, even virtually, such as pen pal programs for assisted living centers have become a big thing right now, because not even family members can visit them.
Sure.
And so our community still needs help. And that's the whole point of that part of the senior project, is to show students that when their community is in need, that being a part of what can help their community is vital to not just the community, but also to themselves. And that idea of how service is, it's an old phrase, but I love it, is the idea that selflessness is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that. And right now with COVID, with all the political shenanigans going on, this is a time that we don't need to remove learning how to help our community.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things for students and parents at this point is sometimes just finding those places. But I do know there's a lot of organizations that even need volunteers to do remote stuff, and I don't know how that works into senior project, but.
So one thing because the board met on this past Monday, and one thing we discussed is just the fact that we understand this, but it's just going to take a little bit more legwork on the student's part, and not a lot. Like, I've done some research, and it took me less than 20 minutes to find option after option after option. They're out there, but the immediate, whatever the student's first plan was, that may not be. A lot of churches are closed right now. A lot of students volunteer with their churches. And so don't waste time not getting the hours done by just assuming that, oh, well, my first option is gone, so all other options must be gone. Because that's not the case. Because I know some students have said, like, well, the Williams County Animal Shelter isn't doing training anymore. Yeah, but if you've already done the training and if you already are a volunteer, they still have volunteers.
Sure.
Like that. And honestly, even that may have changed by now, because the last time I heard that has been 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I know they need volunteers still. I know people that were volunteering still help. There's programs like Waves. I know they're a little different now. It's assisted living, but they live in their own homes in different areas. And while maybe the indoor help isn't needed as much, one of the things that I've gone and helped with them in the past, it's been a couple of years, is just yard work. And so odds are that is still a thing. There's programs like Second Harvest that they don't necessarily need you to come in and volunteer, but maybe you could, but they may need donations, like not money donations or anything, but hey, we need people willing to put together bags and collect donations, and get a group of your friends together, find a teacher or adult, like supervisor to some degree, not a family member, that can verify that you'll do the work, and there you go. It just may take a little bit more creativity and take some time to research, because it's out there, and there's a lot out there still.
Well, and one of the things that you said was they're allowed to do more at school.
They can still do at school. And so even while we're remote, until we hit that severe level, I've been told that they can still sign up. And hear that, they have to sign up. They can't just show up. Contact either Mr. Hatley or Coach Gray. The two of them will always have something that students can do to help, but you need to schedule it with them.
I got a studio right now that needs cleaned up so bad.
Right. And then individual teachers, if individual teachers tell me about something, I'll post it on the Google Classroom like normal. So that being said, make sure I do that at some point.
Will do.
You.
Sure, thanks.
Because I've been told we can still do that, because, I mean, that's small group students. It's not going to be a lot. They'll have masks. They'll abide by what they need to abide by. And it does still need to be done outside of school hours. However, that being said, since we're starting remotely, students that do dual enrollment, they don't start for another few weeks. That's not a question I have an answer to, but I've been asked it. Contact Mr. Hatley, ask him about that, because if you're somebody who is going off campus to do dual enrollment the second half of the day and none of us are here anyway, he might have something you can show up a little earlier for. But normally hours can't be done during the school day. But with the weirdness and unusual circumstances right now, contact Mr. Hatley, contact Coach Gray. They will work with you.
Good. So seniors that have not joined the Google Classroom, that they definitely need to do that.
Yeah, and I think I can pull up the code real quick, because it was having trouble loading a minute ago. Hey, it did load. Yay. All right, so the class code for seniors, and this is just for seniors. I will go through and remove you if you're not one of them. It's KCXBTWZ.
There you go.
And again, it's been put out there in
Sure.
parent emails, student emails, who knows how many ways since March, but we're missing about 80 to 90 on there.
Good. So let's. I'll end with the question from one of the parents again. From a parent side of things, what can they do to help make the whole senior project thing move smoothly?
One, just keep encouraging your students. I mean, I think that's it, because we do want this to be something that students take on. Don't step in and kind of do it for them. I mean, but honestly, obviously right now, help them with the research part on finding somewhere a little bit more. We would normally really want that to be them, but it is a little trickier right now. Help them find what they need to find. Keep encouraging them. The list of everything that needs to be done is again on the guidelines and on the timeline that's in the same locations. But I mean, that's really the thing. It's encourage them, let them know, like, hey, they'll still get through this and they'll be fine.
Sure. Now, if we have parents out there that are part of a non-for-profit or something else,
contact
can they
me.
contact you
yes, please.
to give some options?
Yeah. If you have one, or if you know of any, and even so, parents or students, if you run into any that you're like, hey, here's this one that needs a lot of help, even if you're not connected with it, but you find it and they need a lot of help, because people, I know even friends of mine that normally volunteer that are assuming, oh, well, the place I normally volunteer is down. all of them must be the same way, and that's just not the case. That's the only way a lot of those organizations survive as volunteers. The help that our society and community needs would be gone, and it's not gone.
Great.
So that's there. One other thing I just thought of that is a question that we didn't get to is some students or parents have asked about if students are doing online school, if they have to do this. Yes.
Still required.
Well, because the difference now is that a student that's done online school for all 4 years, they're technically at that school. If a student is doing online this semester or this whole year, depending on how next semester turns out, because of COVID right now, they are still graduating at Page High School. So,
and it is a graduation requirement for Page High.
Yep. So by law, it's a graduation requirement, so they still have to do that. Now, that being said, we have, like, when we get to the actual presentation day, well, one, who knows what that'll look like anyway. So just we'll make changes as necessary. But even if we are doing that one in person, the students doing online, we can set up remote systems if we need to. We can use Zoom for that. That may be what we have to do for everybody. Who knows? Depending on how things are going at that point. But like, they still need to take care of the hours, do all the assignments, and in mid-August, I'm going to assign advisors to students. They'll know who their faculty advisor is. Contact your advisor. Ask them for assistance. Ask them for help, whatever it is, and we'll be able to help you out.
Great. Mr. Hollandsworth, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if any seniors are out there listening to this, or senior parents that are listening to this, please help your students get to the Google Classroom, get to the web page where all the information is there, all the forms, everything else that needs to be done. And thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we will take a quick break and swap the seats out here, and we'll be back with Coach Gray and Mr. Hatley talking about building and sports. All right, welcome back. And we are here with Randy Hatley and Benji Gray. In full disclosure, this is a few days later than our first podcast. We had a few technical issues, which I guess is good in this end of things because now we have some new information, especially on the sports end of things. But let's start with the building side of things, Mr. Hatley. Tell us a little bit about the construction updates and kind of how that's going, and then we can get into the rest of the issues from parking to whatever.
So, all right.
Challenges.
Yes, sounds good. So we've got to be flexible with the construction, obviously, and we appreciate everybody doing that. But it looks like it's on schedule. Looks like we'll be in the new classrooms next school year. So that's exciting, and it'll be worth all this other construction. But if you drive by, don't think that we had a chemistry experiment go awry. That's part of the construction, and
wouldn't be the first.
It wouldn't be the first, but yeah, it's a lot of construction. They're having to move lines around based on Phase 3, Phase 4. So technically, we're in Phase 2. Phase 1 was the beautiful stadium, new track. It's nice there, so it was worth the wait there. And so hopefully, the second phase will be the same.
Great. So with all the construction, the biggest issue, question from, I'm sure, the student side of things is where the heck do they park?
Yeah, if you drove by here this morning, I was thinking, man, I'm glad school's not starting today because TDOT and our construction project really has things
progressing.
Yeah, it's progressing, but it's interrupted a lot of our parking. So basically this year with our ever-changing construction patterns, we were unable to mark the parking spots or reserve parking spots for students. So basically it's just first come, first serve. So when you get on campus, you'll come in what's called Patriot Way, which is down by the behind the soccer field, baseball field. You'll drive around, or the new lot that's across from the middle school. And so right in front of the ring staff, we're asking no one to park there because that's just for buses. And I'm thinking some of the construction equipment will have to go there as well. So I know they're working on trying to get a plan for that. And then, of course, the teachers are all going to be around back, and that way we can keep them under control.
So that also displaces the front office, right, and the public visiting parking.
Exactly. So the front office, based on where you're used to coming in, will now be around what we call the back by the tennis courts, because the construction is moving up. If you remember the dumpsters, it's moving up into that area. So the dumpsters are being moved, so you'll have to go somewhere else to smell that lovely smell. But yeah, we'll work with it.
So that main entrance for the main office will literally be next to my room.
Exactly.
700 hall right there.
In the 700 hallway. Yep.
Yeah,
sure
so
will.
visitor parking will actually be behind the wellness and ring staff gym going forward.
Gotcha.
And then a lot of that's being rearranged for some handicap spots for those students that need the ramps to get into the buildings in the morning. So students, when you get here in the mornings, you'll come in by the band, JROTC. You'll come in by the, I guess that would be, what number is that? What number is your room?
700s. Mm-hmm.
So it'd be the 700 hallway, and then down by, that's Mr. Flowers' room, and then also down by Coach Rutin's room. And you have 3 ways to get in. You have to have your temperature checked and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so while we're kind of in your wheelhouse here, tell us about like extracurriculars that don't have anything to do with sports.
Gotcha. Those will be meeting as after school. Those will be, have to be with your sponsor. Obviously, cannot meet without your sponsor being present, so that'll be worked out with your sponsor. And we want those clubs to continue. And since we're in what's the medium range now, we can do those kind of small group activities after school. I know that, different parent groups have already been meeting with the sports and all the clubs as well.
Great. Anything else that you just want to fill us in on from your end of things?
No, I'm just, glad we're getting some semblance of a routine back. And when you come out to visit us, put on your flexible shoes, and you might want to wear some old shoes based on all the mud and everything around. But
yeah, we should have prefaced our podcast part with please provide grace and patience with what we tell you.
Exactly. I think that's a good motto this year. And, it's just nice to see the students when they were picking up their stuff the other day. And, I know that they're a little anxious with the remote learning beginning, but we'll get through it, and it'll be a unique memory that we will have forever.
Yes, it will. All right, Coach Gray, give us a little bit of, luckily now, a little bit of update, and I know you're still flexible here as we go, but give us a little bit of stuff on sports, TSSAA.
Yeah, so I think with our construction challenges, both things Mr. Hatley and I stated are very fluid. Fluid seems to be the vocabulary word that we go by now. So we've currently been under WCS and district protocol. We've had several sports teams practicing and conditioning with no contact on campus since June, and really revved up after the TSSAA dead period. So actually everything is on as normal. Governor Lee signed Executive Order 55 on Friday, which was surprising. And so now what happens is, and just to show how fluid it is, football coaches, soccer coaches, and athletic directors have a meeting this afternoon to discuss district protocol. And so just because Governor Lee signed that executive order allowing contact does not mean that Williamson County directly says, all right, let's go to work.
Sure.
You look at Henry County and Davidson County. Brentwood, for example, 3 of their first 4 games in football games are against 2 Davidson County schools in Henry County. But both of those have said they're not having contact till after Labor Day. So that displaces Brentwood's schedule. So how do you work around that? So, but as of right now, we're going through with normal, same protocols, checking temperatures and keeping records of every student athlete on campus, maintaining social distancing, wearing masks. You all as a public are just as informed as us. I make sure to inform the coaches immediately as soon as I have new information as well. So cross country, golf, and volleyball are on as scheduled. Those are all listed as non-contact sports. And I think even Coach Hess, along with many of us, wondered how's volleyball a non-contact sport.
Yeah, no kidding.
But, we've had a great turnout. Everybody's still turning in their physicals April 15th or later, filling out all their athletic forms. We're looking forward to everything. A couple of changes that everyone really needs to be aware of, though, is per TSSAA protocol, we will be limiting the amount of spectators in our venue to a third to a fourth. And so one of my jobs this week is to measure each of our stadiums, based on 18-inch seating.
That's fun.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's what Neyland Stadium does, 18 inches. Actually, they might be 14 inches the way they pack it.
Exactly. And there once, those seats are not 18 inches.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, SEC said they're going to play football, so let's go. But we're going to do everything we can to accommodate visiting teams, spectators, to the best we can. But one of the biggest, positives, I guess, coming out of this is the ability to live stream. You all and your students do a great job live streaming, and I think people need to take advantage of that. But then we're also hopefully going to get NFHS Pixel cameras, where you can pay a $70 yearly subscription and watch any event on the football field or any event in the ring staff gym. And so, I mean, just in my opinion, if I can sit in the comfort of my own home, not have to get my temperature checked, not have to wear a mask, not have to be spaced out, why would you not take advantage of that? So, but if you do come to a sporting event, everything will be online. We're going to push all of our ticket sales online. No athletic passes this year, just because we don't know the certainty of a season or if games might get canceled. So we're not going to allow that option along with most schools in the county. But we'll be pushing that link to purchase tickets online through administration, our Twitter account, social media. That'll be coming out soon.
So if they just show up for a game, there's not going to be tickets available to buy?
So that will be limited.
Okay.
What we will do is, and that's one of the things administration and I, we're going to sit down. I'm going to talk to some students about some of our student leadership is how do we address the challenge of letting students in based on the number of seating? Do we give preference to those athletes' parents that are on the field? So football, you're looking at football, cheerleading, and band parents.
Yeah.
So,
which is pretty much going to fill your
It should, especially if you allow visiting teams.
Yeah, because whenever you talked about the band, unfortunately, they've had to cancel all of their season.
All their competitions, right?
For all their competitions. Yeah. So their thrill or their whole thing is predicated on our ability to have home football games. So I know that's something that, is devastating to them, and they just finished band camp last week. But just wanted to say that out loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good to know.
Yeah, so I think Mr. Roston and all those students are planning on doing, their shows during halftime. Mm-hmm. And so, that's another option we could look at is if band parents just want to come in and watch halftime and then leave, we probably wouldn't charge for that. And it also saves you seating.
Sure.
So it's all a challenge that we're all working together on. But with GoFan, who we're doing our tickets through, they can cut off the number of tickets. So once they're sold, they're sold. One of the other options is once we know visiting seating, I would send that school a number of tickets. Here's 100 tickets. That's how many we can get. You deliver them to your school as you please, which takes it off of us. So we'll just see how it goes. I mean, I think football is the biggest issue, but then you look at volleyball. Volleyball's around the corner, and that's going to be more limited space. Soccer, which we can be creative. The county's given us some creativity. So for soccer, essentially we could let you in and you bring your lawn chair and sit around the field somewhere. I mean, why wouldn't you take advantage of that as well?
Sure.
So I think we've got a great plan and great protocol, but once again, we're just going to need some grace and patience with everyone. And so because we're not giving athletic passes out this year to home games for the community or student athletes, we've actually dropped our athletic fee down to $60. And so people have to keep in mind that $60 helps cover the cost of officials, security, uniforms, equipment, tournaments.
Yeah.
So, we're in a good position right now with Page Athletics to go forward with a 2021 season.
Great. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, a couple of the questions that came in from some of the parents were concerned about cleaning and, what do you do with the weight rooms and what do you do with locker rooms and that kind of stuff? How's that going to be handled?
So each program is responsible for cleaning their own locker rooms. Either one, don't use your locker room.
Yeah.
And that takes that out of the equation, or you have to clean it. Now, in the summer, the only two programs that have really used the weight room, the big weight room, has been wrestling and football. And so Coach Migochi and I spearhead that, and it is wipe down material. So we're wiping down bars and benches, maintaining distance. Anything that our hands are going on, we got wipes. So the athletic department has purchased multiple rolls of wipes.
Yeah.
And then same thing for the little weight room, basketball, football have been using the little weight room, same process, supervised wipe down. And the kids have really done a good job. I would almost say that our weight rooms are the cleanest they've ever been at this point, just because of the necessity of wiping things down. But everybody has to bring their own water bottles. We've cut off all our water fountains. Even as students come back,
Right.
the water fountains have an amazing security system on it. It's a zip tie and a Ziploc bag. So, but you can still bring your own water bottle and use them at the fill-up stations.
Right.
So, as for equipment, though, I think for example, district volleyball coaches met last week, and one of the things they talked about is bringing your own warm-up balls.
Sure.
So each school would be responsible for their own warm-up balls. And so we're all putting things in protocol and in place to spearhead the challenges we face with COVID.
Sure. So one of the questions that came in from the parents, and this goes obviously for everything, and we've kind of touched on this with each department and everybody that's doing this, is parents said, what can we do to help as parents?
Well, I think that positive approach to this unique situation is so important when you're sitting at home and you've ordered Grubhub and it's you've delivered it to your house and you're sitting around talking about school and stuff. Any kind of positive words would really help. I mean, it's so easy to be negative about the situation, but we just need to make the most of it. I think we're good right now on cleaning supplies. I know that once we're back in the building, might be nice if you could bring some wipes, because the teachers are going to have to clean desk in between classes and those kind of things. So I think that's a big need. But just try to be flexible with us and patient. And we're trying to do our best, and I know that would help get us some support from home.
Sure. Coach Greg?
Well, I think that includes, piggybacking off that, everyone has their opinions, and I understand everybody has their rights on masks, no masks, temperature, social distancing. But if you're going to come to campus, you just have to be patient enough to follow the district protocol, and that's what we're asking. And so if we do get these live streaming cameras, that takes that out of the equation. If you don't want to wear masks, stay home and watch it. I mean, especially in November when Mr. Hatley and I and the staff are out there with space heaters trying to stay warm at the ticket booths.
See, the mask is going to be nice then, because we can just put a facial, one of those ski things I wear
right,
once
that's
in a
right.
while.
Those little hand warmers and
Yeah.
stick inside of there.
Exactly.
We've already been doing that anyway.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing is, we're really truly all in this together. There's no huge disparity between
Right,
any sport or any club.
right.
We're all following the same protocol. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you. That's
And
pretty cool.
we'll get this thing out here hopefully today. And anything that parents still have a question about or students have a question about, I'm sure they can email you and
Absolutely.
find that out that way.
Oh, for sure.
We'll do this on the regular as we know how many changes are coming.
Right. And so just, keep listening to what's going on. Things are constantly changing, and we hope everybody's doing well and
Shake
look
and bake.
forward. Yeah, shake and bake.
And we will update the website from time to time. And so I would check there first and make sure there's no current updates before you send an email, because there may be an answer to your question right there.
Yeah, or Twitter. Go to, Twitter, WCS, PHS Athletics. We are shooting out all kinds of athletic information.
Great. Great. Well, thank you, guys. We'll be right back with Dr. Hill and some closing comments. Thank you. All right, we are back, and we're just going to kind of wrap things up with Dr. Hill here. Dr. Hill, one of the things that came from the parents, and I've shared this with some of the other departments and other people that have been representing different areas here today. One of the questions that came up from one of the parents, which I just thought was just really great coming from a parent, was like, as parents, how can we help in this whole process?
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all, because they are so helpful to us, and have been just wonderful partners historically. So I'm sure they're anxious to help continue to support us, especially in the current situation that we're in. So I do have several thoughts on that. I think we talked earlier, Mr. Flowers, about how awesome our PTO is. So, Again, that's one way. The PTO has already provided us with gallons of hand sanitizer. And so, by joining the PTO and paying those membership fees, we're able to do so many more things than what our budget allows. So that's one way. Another way, and they've already, so many parents have already done this, but just to continue to show grace to the staff here. We are working around the clock trying to get these schedules right with all of the changes and with honoring the online choices. And so we're doing our best, and parents have been so gracious. So just continuing to be patient with us and to be positive with us. And then most importantly for me is for parents to please be as positive as you can with your children. The kids for sure didn't have any say about this situation, and so encouraging them that even though maybe remote wasn't what they wanted, to encourage them to put their best face forward as they log on to their classes and to be as positive with them as possible. Or maybe, online wasn't exactly their choice, but it was what was the best choice for them, encouraging them to still give their very best effort and to be positive in all of those situations is my number one ask of parents is to just support your kids and don't go at this remote learning situation remotely as a parent. Please continue to log on to Skyward. We're going to be updating grades weekly like we've always done and want them engaged in holding their kid accountable just like we're going to be. And, our teachers are going to communicate. They're going to reach out. They're committed to 24-hour turnaround when you reach out to us in terms of a response. So we are holding ourselves to a very high standard of instructing and working with kids and getting the best out of them. And we want to partner with parents to do the same. Grades count. They go on transcripts this year, whether we're in the building or we're online or we're in remote environments. So partner with us and help us do the best we can to serve your students.
That's great. So what's the quickest way for parents to know when things have changed? Where do they go to look?
Our Page High website is brand new and went live today. Woo-hoo! So check it out. Mr. Hollandsworth is our webmaster this year, and he has worked hard all summer to try to make that a more accessible, user-friendly site. And I think parents will find that to be true. I haven't had as much time to play around with the live version just yet, but the things he's been talking to me about are really exciting. So that's one place. We're going to communicate from the administrators via Blackboard email very consistently. And I know that over the summer, we've sent more communication out in that mode than we've ever done before, and we've heard that a lot of those emails are being defaulted to junk folders or spam folders. Yep. So we're asking parents to please look in those folders and mark wcs.edu and to mark parentlink.net as safe senders so they don't miss those important communications. And, Mr. Flowers, I used to be an English teacher, so some of my emails are lengthy. But we ask parents to read through those carefully because there's a lot of important stuff in there. So.
Great. And for sometimes just a quick update, we throw out stuff out on Twitter a lot, too.
Absolutely.
So join the Twitter accounts for all the different admins and sports and all that kind of stuff.
Most of our extracurricular teachers have those, too. So, that Twitter's really become a great way to stay informed.
Great. Well, thank you, Dr. Hill, so much. It's great to have you in charge this year, and thanks for your time this morning. Thanks to all of our guests today for taking time out on this very early morning. Hopefully all of our parents and students that listen to this podcast have a little better idea of what's happening, or at least will be happening at Page High in just about a week. If you have further questions, please refer all Page High specific questions to our illustrious administrative team. Or from one of the other people that you heard from today for the different sports and senior project or counseling offices or health side of things, whatever. If you're listening on YouTube, we're going to try to provide their contact information in the link down below the show notes. Thanks so much for listening. For Page High School, I'm Terry Flowers. Students, we will see you Friday on Zoom. Thanks again. Have a great day.